All right. This is Coach Mike from C26 podcast, or Crushing Iron podcast, C26 Triathlon, and I am going to take you through the Wisconsin bike loop. I rode it, I've ridden it probably 25, 30 times now, and I know it seems ridiculous, but it's kind of taken me quite a while to get used to it and understand what's coming next and really have a good handle on it. I thought I would pass that on. Some things to look for. I'm going to break it into sections. That way you kind of have an idea of, maybe when you're making a certain turn, what's coming next in the next 5 to 10 miles or whatever like that. So for me, that sort of has made it kind of easier to get through the loop, knowing what you have, because the first, bunches of times I just, you're out in the farm fields and it's absolutely beautiful, but obviously it kind of looks the same. There's no real monuments and things like that. So for me, it's a good idea to kind of at least know what's coming. When you can push, know when you have a little recovery time, and know when you have to really kind of gear up for some climbing and things like that. So where this video is starting actually is on a section that I believe could end up being on the course this year, which hasn't been on because of a detour, because there's a bridge out on Valley Road. And Valley Road is the first right that you take after special needs, right after Verona, when you pass through the Fireman's Park there by Rocket Bikes. And normally you would go under the interstate overpass, I guess that would be, and turn right on Valley, climb right away, then you get a pretty good downhill, and it's a rough road, and then you climb at the end and take a short pinch right turn onto Sugar Valley Road or whatever this is. This is what this road is. Anyway, you've basically just kind of gone past Valley Road and then turned right and turned right again, and now we're coming back up to what would be Sugar River Road. The top of Valley Road is at the top of this hill right here. And let me tell you, this hill is no joke. It comes at you right after Verona. I'm not talking about the stick today. I'm just going to be on the loop. And, Verona, basically, when you're in Verona, it's basically flat. But here you come up this hill here on Sugar River. And I want to be in my little ring here for sure, because this course, you kind of see these hills coming. They look bigger than they are in the first, and then you get to them and you're like, that's not that bad. But always by the top up here, you're going to wish you're in the little ring. So we did have somebody drop their chain right about now on this video behind me. And now, so that's big ring, trying to get into your small ring at the wrong time. So get into it early, going into that hill for sure. Up here on the right, you'll see Valley Road. And like I said, down that hill to the right, there's a bridge out, and they've been working on it for most of the summer, it seems like. And as I make this video, we're 3 weeks away from the race, so it was still out. That's Valley Road with the road closed sign there. And then this is the little pincher right here that you want to kind of be ready for too. So after this, though, and this is the key to the course, I think, is getting up that little thing. It's going to grind you a little bit, but being in the right gear and then getting after it. And you got a good downhill right here. And it's actually, I remember this the first time I ever did it. It was a cool little section. I don't know. There's a lot of these on the course that I really like. So I really like to get after these hills. Got some people up here hanging on, waiting for people, but I'm just going to go. And I didn't ride this particularly hard because we were kind of hanging out as a group and whatever, but this is normally where I want to really get after it. And there's a lot of these sections out here where if you get to the top and you're just deciding to coast over the top, you're going to lose a lot of speed. You can climb a hill. So this is what I like about this little section, is it's just got this kind of little S-curve through a neighborhood. Not a neighborhood, there's a couple houses. And you spin through here, and you're still going downhill here. So, and the roads look worse than they are on this section. It's not bad. Oh, there's a bump, but it's pretty good. You really need to kind of keep your eyes open though for bigger bumps and things like that. But then you kind of curl through here and take, just veer right. There's some gravel, but they usually get that stuff off of there. I think there was a big rain before this. So you curve right here. You got a nice downhill there, and then you kind of going up to this little left turn here. And there's normally, I don't think it's an aid station, but I think there's a lot of people that have water here waiting for you usually. And but this is kind of a little pincher too. Just be ready for it. Kind of get up to the top and then you turn left. I guess this is Marshview Road. And so this is a little bit of a climb at the end of that downhill. Just again, don't try and get crazy with it. I'm sure a lot of Uber bikers can get right up this in big gear, but for the most of us, it's probably a good idea to be ready for that in a small ring. As you can probably hear me breathing a little bit. So then you take this left, and this will take you out to County G. It's another little downhill into County G. I'm catching my breath here, actually. So that hill, while not long, can kind of catch you off guard if you're not ready for it. But, this course, as I've often called it, is just a grinder.
Angela.
She did?
And
I couldn't see who it was.
First hill.
Oh, there's Emily. So,
There you go.
so now we're going to get out here. We're going to kind of go down another little hill here and then curl around to the right.
Before you get to him.
And then take a left onto G. Now, again, this might not seem like much, but this is a downhill where you should be able to get some speed. I was saying earlier, if you climb a hill at 9 miles an hour or 8 miles an hour and save, that's a lot less of a discrepancy than if you can get 25 to 30 here instead of doing like 18. And there's a lot of those opportunities out here, and that's what I really want to get across today is that you're going to want to do the best you can with the speed because there's speed on the course, but the hills can be demoralizing. So just, especially early, try not to get too far out of your saddle on these things. This is a highway here. This road, I think it's about, I want to say 4 to 5 miles on this road right here. It's a nice road. It's sort of a busier highway, but there's a nice shoulder here. And obviously in the race, there usually isn't cars around. The course is not closed, I don't believe, but it's usually pretty car-free. But this section here is about 4 to 5 miles, and this to me is one of the better sections to be an aero. And I was doing aero in this, and about 10 miles into this, I started just standing my horn so you guys had a better view of things. But pretty flat-ish, but there's a couple of mid-range rollers in this thing. And I say rollers, it reminds me kind of a lot of what the Chattanooga course is like. It's kind of these longer climbs, but they're in-betweeners, man. So you want to, like for me on flats out here, what I try to do is just stay within myself because you got plenty of hills to be grinding up. And on this, I use it almost as a recovery. So I'm always thinking maybe like gear down a little bit, but just to get a little more cadence maybe and not make it as hard of a push because you'll get, like I said, this is, it's about 5 miles here. So we're just kind of cruising along. It's smooth road. And there's about, maybe a mile before we kind of get up into a little bit of a climb. And then there's a kind of a longer climb before you get up to Messerschmidt. Now I'm cutting this section into Verona through Messerschmidt because I don't know how many miles it is, but it's sort of the beginning of the loop. It kind of gives you a little taste of what the course is going to be like, because Messerschmidt is a pretty good example of how this course plays out. It's kind of got it's a roller coaster, 3-hill section, and I'll kind of tell you how I think you can handle this section. But for this road right here, is just kind of, for most people, is going to be a nice easy cruise, and then you get into a couple of these climbs, but nothing big. But again, it's sort of like, at what point, I think on the second one you're going to want to kind of get in your little ring to kind of crest it, but on the first one you might be able to. It's just a tweener, if you want to push it a little bit, that's okay, I think, but just don't get stuck. We still got a little bit of ways. You can go through here. I mean, this is a pretty good cruise. I mean, a lot of times the wind's in your face here too, so it kind of sucks. This is actually one of my least favorite parts of the course, because I love the ups and downs out here, and I love the smaller roads, and this is kind of a highway. It's just sort of a generic cycling ride here. It doesn't really do much for me, other than you can take a little break here, but your tendency is going to want to be to push it here, because it is flat, and you're like, damn, this is a good section to go get it. I definitely don't recommend that. I think you can go at a pretty good clip. I would say that this is a good one to, maybe just go a little bit above what you're hoping to average out here. Maybe a mile or two an hour more. Easily, I've ridden this course, raced it 4 times, and 3 of those times I was right around 6 hours or a little bit less. And but last year I was 7 hours in the rain, and water in the wheels and the whole 9 yards. It was just a bad day, so it took me 7 hours out here, probably with a long ride of 4 for that year. So it was not pretty. And but yeah, so this road here is one you're going to be tempted to make up some time, but I still say you want to make up your time on the downhills. And when I say downhills, it doesn't necessarily have to mean a bomber downhill. I mean, those are kind of a trade-off, because you can usually coast almost as fast as you can pedal anyway. But there's like medium downhills, and there's one coming up here after we get around this corner up here. I think this might be the little climb I was talking about. Then you have, so in other words, when you're out on this course, I think you look ahead, right?
No.
And if you see an extended, downhill coming, you got to go get it. You just got to take care. You got to take advantage of it, because sometimes it's a roller. It's more up and down kind of thing, and you definitely want to have speed going into the hills. But when you have these sort of extended, nice grade downhills, you really want to. That's where I think you want to push it. And I don't mean like overdo your watts or anything like that. It's hard to get over the watts on these kind of hills, but you're going to want to just go get it. Because there's, like, again, if you're going 30 miles an hour versus 20 for maybe a half mile or more, that's more, that's just like a better variance to pick up some average speed instead of trying to climb it a mile or 2 an hour higher than you normally would and losing your legs. We're still on the flats here, actually. So it's like
it's not the trace.
Yeah. I just referenced Natchez Trace in there. We used to ride in Nashville a lot. It was hilly, and it was great training for this course, but the roads are all like this. They're all perfectly smooth, and the hills out there are, I guess, pretty similar. I think they're more similar to what's coming up here, which would be, it looks like it might be the hill up there. I can't tell. Just kind of those slow, longer climbs, and that's sort of what the trace is made up of. And here, you're looking at a lot of shorter, steeper climbs on this course. So that's why I'm such a big advocate of getting into them fast And I'm not an Uber biker or anything like that, but I do think that, like my thing is getting over the hill, getting into my big ring on the beginning of the downhill, and then just going as hard as I can, but going hard into the next hill, and then early enough getting out of my big ring and then being in my small ring so I can adjust. But it's all about momentum.
Car back.
There's a car back. But yeah, this is like a hill right here. Just a little bit of a grinder that you could probably stay in your big ring for, but again, especially early, I would let my legs get kind of warmed up and not try to make too much time up on these climbs right here, and really pay more attention to what you can do after it. And you'll see, like right here, you can kind of tell this thing's going down, and you can see out in the horizon you got some time there. So this is a good opportunity to go get some speed for a while. And I'm not talking about massive speed, but for me this might be like 25 miles an hour, 23, 25, something like that, because I think this curls around and leads into the final climb into Messerschmidt. We're moving pretty good here. You've got these chances, so I'm reiterating this for everybody, but for myself as well, because it's not flat. It's a little bit of a downhill. There's a couple flat sections in there, but now you can keep going. And now we're coming up, I think, into the climb into Messerschmidt, which is a little bit longer. And by the end, you're kind of ready for it to be over. But I usually just get in my small ring at the bottom of this, even because could I push it harder? For sure, but it's just all about saving your energy out here. I can't remember if I mentioned on this or one of the other ones I threw away, but the first, I think, 12 or so miles, I was actually riding an arrow a lot, and after that, I try to stay in my horns to give you a better view of things. But yeah, this looks like we may be climbing up into Messerschmidt right now. You can see I'm kind of. Nothing massive, but it's just one of those ones that gets into you a little bit because it's a little longer. She's just pumping up this thing, an arrow, which I love. Good training. I mean, I don't do that, honestly, on this course because, I don't know, I don't ride enough, I don't think, to build my arrow strength a lot of times. And for me, it's just easier to be up, and I breathe easier when I'm on my horns on all these climbs. And, the gain from aerodynamics, to me anyway, isn't worth the trade-off. But we're getting there. I think that's the turn right up there. Yeah, it flattens out a little bit, and then you turn right into Messerschmidt, which is honestly, like I said, is a good representation of this course. I love this little section here. It's a roller coaster. It's two pretty substantial climbs, and then I had to cut this here because I went back to check on some people, but here it is. This is Messerschmidt, and right from the corner, I like to get after it a little bit because you got this perfect little grade, and then you hit this downhill right here where you can get going. Again, I think there's probably 7 to 10 times on this course where you can be upper 30s, low 40s, and this is probably one of them. Right here when you start getting into this, and then you'll come right out of this and it gets to the bottom, basically flattens out for a second, and then you're climbing again. So I'm probably coasting here, I can't tell. But we were riding with a group, so I wasn't really maybe getting after it like I would normally would. But this little, oh, actually, no, this is one you can just roll right over up to about, no, this isn't, shit. See, even I know this course really well, and I can't, but right now I'd be in my little ring for sure on this first situation. Because it looks attainable when you're coming at it, but then right around in here, it's just sort of like you don't want to be stuck in the wrong gear because it's quite a bit of a climb left, and all those little mistakes will take it out of your legs. So I always tell people kind of err on the side of caution when you're going into these hills. Hammer down it, get into the right. For me, it's always usually the little ring. I know there's a lot of people that can probably just plow up this thing, whatever, but for me, it's not time for that. There's a couple. The next time we go down here, the next section, you'll be able to, I think, just plow over a couple little rollers. So I say 3 hills here, but 2 of them are climbers. And so you can hear me breathing on this one. Not overly steep, but just something you got to pay attention to here. Catching my breath. A little out of shape. This was about a month ago. I think I'm a little bit better off right now. But then again, just be in a position to get over it. And there's some good speed here. As you can see, they were ahead of me and they're already gone. So you got to take it. Now I'm looking out here. This is like where I usually try to stay in the middle of the road if there's no cars coming, because I always think about these people with the driveways right there. How I'm always aware of that. Just I can imagine, living on the course and hundreds of riders every weekend. Every time you leave the house, you gotta kind of really be careful, especially if they're coming down. So just be aware of that if you're out riding this course. I think it's the least we can do. But that was a little hill right there, and I just kind of rolled right over it. And then you got more speed here. So if you're not a great downhiller, you can still, I think, be a little aggressive for yourself, within yourself, just to take, again, even if you got over that hill and then got into the downhill a little bit and just coasted, you can get some recovery there. And you don't have to be going, 40 miles an hour. You can go 30 miles an hour or whatever it is and coast a little bit. Gonna wait before I say what. Yeah, I think this is the 3rd hill here that we're climbing. Definitely seems like it. I mean, this is one of those tweeners. I think if you get enough speed, you can get up that thing and get over it in your gear. But it's just a real technical shifting kind of course. So it's difficult in a different way. It's not like, some of the courses at Placid or I can't. See, I've done this course so many times. It's just so nondescript in some sections like this. But yeah, then you get, so now we're just kind of going back downhill. We'll turn on, I guess it's Route 92. And Route 92, which will be up here a little ways, is, quite frankly, my least favorite section of the course. It's the road and climb into Mount Horeb. It's kind of got another one of those sort of main highway roads that you're on for a little bit, or actually the whole way, I guess. And yeah, so we'll turn here, and then we'll start our ascent into Mount Horeb.